throughout.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented, including approval of the agenda as submitted, approval of minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on January 14th, 2019, approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for January 2019, approval of the Committee of Whole minutes for January 2019, and approval of the resignation of Harold Campbell, Middle School Social Science, and Randy Diller, High School Special Education.
I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Steve. And Jason had a few things he wanted to say about the budget before we vote.
Yes, just a few items to note in regards to the budget and current month's treasurer's report, and it's good news. Good news tonight. As we predicted, we received SPED reimbursement of $225,320, IDEA reimbursement of $162,957, which helps on the receipt side of things. Total revenue this month was $2,835,142. Expenditures, benefits for the district were $427,048. Payroll, $1,274,401, which brings total benefits and payroll to $1,701,450. Bills, this is the good news, were $417,508. That's roughly down from $610,564. This brings our total expenditures for the month to $2,118,957. That's all important because this is the direction we need to continue to go for the next half of the budget cycle. February will bring us to the halfway point of the budget cycle, and in order to continue to make up ground, that will be the direction we want to see things go. So payroll and benefits won't change much, as you know, I've said that before, but just to continue to educate everyone on that. Those are pretty much set from September through the rest of the year, with the exception of 5-week pay periods and the influence of weather that can affect us from time to time, whatever reason. But those are pretty consistent and stay set. We can and we have to control our spending. That's the one thing that we have control over. And I talked to the administrative team about it. We don't always have control over our revenue. That can be influenced by multiple things, but our expenditures we can. So I did send out a message to staff, and I just want to thank the staff who read the message and responded accordingly and observing the request. I greatly appreciate their support and help in trying to do this. We will continue as we work our way through this year and looking into the next year's budget to find ways as we can to be fiscally responsible. So the February Committee of the Whole meeting will be a healthy dose of budget update and personnel discussion, and so we will hit a lot of those topics and plans as we start to see things unfold at the end of this budget cycle, or at the midpoint of this budget cycle. So good news. Thank you to staff again for their response to that information and that request, and we need to continue to move that direction. So that's what I have.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on Jason's comments? All right, can I have your votes, please? All right, that is approved 7-0. Next up, approval of the proposed accounts for payment. Can I have a motion to approve those?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the payment of bills as presented.
I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Steve. Can I have, is there any comments or questions on this? Seeing none, can I have your votes? All right, we have one abstention, that is Doris, and it passes 6. Next up, we have outstanding recognition. Dr. Nielsen.
Good evening. With our small
12 crowd, I have a feeling we can probably pick out maybe our employee of the month. But, Mr. Drosh, I'm sorry, it is not you. Jane Murphy, will you come join me? Jane Murphy, special education teacher at the middle school, is the February employee of the month. Mrs. Murphy is the 8th grade resource teacher at BMS. Students really like working with her. She has a special ability to push a student, but also show compassion and wise direction when a student may be struggling. She communicates with students with humor and positive encouragement, guiding the students forward. Mrs. Murphy goes above and beyond to help students see how they can be successful in and out of the classroom. She creates ways students can see success by motivating them with intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. Students know Mrs. Murphy cares about them personally. In fact, students who have moved on to the high school still love to talk to Mrs. Murphy about activities or at activities. Students have even stopped back at the middle school to say hi or email her just to stay in contact. In addition to working with over 20 students this year and keeping track of grades in each of their classes, she teaches a resource math and reading class. Mrs. Murphy communicates on a regular basis with parents about assignments, late work, and tests the students will be working on. The students' IEPs need to be written as well, as teachers and parents communicated with to set up these IEP meetings. She is often in her classroom by 6:30 in the morning and stays after school to help students with their homework. Students enjoy having Mrs. Murphy as a teacher, but many teachers also appreciate your hard work year after year in helping students become more responsible and successful. And I know for one, she's having those students left and right, running up and down the halls, down the stairs. She makes sure that she gets on them to make sure that everything is accomplished with them. So thank you and congratulations. Thank you.
I would just like to add, you're not going to find a more caring, hardworking. I don't know what time you get to work, but it's before me. And I usually get there about 6:45, and then she'll stay a lot of times till 6:30. Nobody cares more than her kids more than Jane. Nobody works harder than Jane. And when you care about your kids as much as Jane does, you can push them, and they understand. And I'm proud of the work that you do, Jane. Congratulations.
Thank you. I guess John has something for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Good for everybody.
Yeah.
Congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the information portion of our meeting. Due to the weather, Hannah will not be presenting the student update tonight, so we will move on to the committee of the whole. Mrs. Martin.
The Committee of the Whole met on January 24th, and we began the meeting with a update on student assessment from Dr. Nielsen. Then we moved on to policy updates by Mr. Alexander on fundraising, grievance procedures, and then the reorganization of the board that needed to take place with officers and the policy. Mr. Alexander then shared some information about continuing the bus contract and talked about the relationship we've established with the bus company. He said he feels like bus transportation is operating under the 3 established goal areas of safety, equity, and efficiency. Mr. Alexander then shared that they have reviewed the duties of the energy manager and due mostly to updated technology. He thought this was a position that could be eliminated for the next school year, which would result in some savings. He then shared information about the Interlocal Cooperation Act agreement with the city and also an agreement with Southeast Community College about the SENCAT Perkins Funds update. And then he also said that we would be scheduling a board retreat in the next month or 2. So lots of information. That ends my report.
All right, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding the committee of the whole? All right, next up, we have Mr. Winter with the stamps report.
Well, most of the bills you may have read about, or I'm sure most of you didn't look for them in the paper every morning. At the legislature had to do with the property tax situation and different methods of support. But the few that the stamps people are looking at is LB 614, which would expand sales tax base and bring in an additional $200 to $300 million annually to be earmarked for education. The stance people recommend that we do support the bill. Open Sky helped draft the legislation and is not written as a property tax relief bill. The next one is LB 314. That bill would also expand sales tax base in an attempt to provide property tax relief. Recommend also that we would support this bill. This is a reiteration of the Nebraska United bill from last session, and the hearing is set up for this Thursday. Property tax relief with a, I gotta check this out, property tax relief with a pay for by balancing the three-legged stool. Okay, that would, I believe the sales tax, income tax, and property tax make up the three-legged stool, and right now one of them seems to be supporting more, and that would be the property tax part. LR5CA, constitutional amendment, provides a limit property tax reliance to no more than 33% of total funding for K-12 education. We recommend through this one neutral testimony at the hearing. It shows the current reliance on property taxes in member districts and acknowledge the problem that over-reliance on property tax to fund schools, while also urging the state to look at alternative means to pay for schools so we can provide genuine property tax relief without having without having massive cuts. The recommendation of neutral testimony on this is a share, as Brewer, Senator Brewer is evidently a key swing vote on the Education Committee and generally supportive of K-12 education. Last one is LB 351, Moorfield bill, that is set up to provide levying authority for schools for violence prevention and cybersecurity. Recommendation to provide proponent testimony for this. And that concludes the stance report. I know there's been a lot more property tax relief and different ideas brought forth, and there'll probably be more before they get to many of the hearings, but that's the ones that I think the stance people felt would benefit or help us the most. That's
Okay,
it.
thank you, Steve. Anybody have any comments or questions? All right, next up, school and community, Mrs. Byers.
Yes, the Board of Education, School Community, and Staff Relations Committee met on February 1st at Lincoln Elementary with board members Eric Trustee and myself present. Staff indicated that the school year is going well and they have adapted nicely to the grade level building concept. They enjoy the collaboration between teachers in planning and implementing classroom work and other activities. There continues to be a concern regarding the behaviors of students. They would like to see more behavioral health support. There was also discussion regarding class sizes, and we told them that administration is analyzing class size structure for the upcoming year. Preschool enrollment continues to be strong, resulting in a larger kindergarten enrollment. And Mr. Trustee shared that facility needs are continually being addressed and analyzed by administration. The next School Community and Staff Relations Committee meeting will be held on March 15th, 2019 at Stoddard Elementary.
Any comments or questions? All righty. We'll move on to the public forum section of our meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to comment or make a citizen's request at this time?
I didn't get employee of the month, so forget it.
All right. Seeing none, we will move on to the discussion portion of our meeting. We can start off, do you want to cover all these or just want to do one at a time?
Probably one at a time.
Okay, then we're gonna start off the second reading of policy 3580, insufficient funds.
Okay, as you recall, I'll just be brief. This is a policy change on insufficient funds that just eliminates the $10 check fee because currently we charge 15, and basically just updating it to say there will be a charge for a return check fee.
Anybody? All right, first reading of policy 3410, fundraising.
Basically, 3410 is policy revision that is reflective of committee of the whole discussion intended to give focused priority to needs in Beatrice. I appreciate the board's help in helping wordsmith this the right way, making sure that the emphasis or our focus will be on local charities here in Beatrice, as there's enough need here for us to continue to try and find ways to help where we can and role model that to our students. But on a non-local basis, charities will be given consideration on a case-by-case basis.
Next up, first reading of policy 4235, the grievance procedure for classified personnel.
Just a bit more on this one, and as I talk about this one, I'm also going to jump down and talk about policy revision 4625, grievance procedures for certified staff. So I'm going to lump 8.3 and 8.4 together. These are a result of the negotiations process and meeting with the both the certified staff and the Board of Education in regards to the grievance procedures that are in place. Basically, this policy's not been reviewed since 1995, and we felt it important to take a look at this. Our goals throughout this has been, first of all, to keep kids first and adults second, which should always be our goal. And I'm going to just summarize very quickly because you'll have an opportunity to read through this at another time, and we'll be discussing it in the future. But the idea is to separate the adult items from the student items. And when we talk about the adult items, we're talking about compensation, benefits, and leave time, placement on salary schedule, graduate classes, all those things, from the student issues of a learning environment, educational policies, and those types of things that are more student driven. So we're trying to separate those two things, but understand that we have to have a policy in place to recognize concerns of our staff, whether it be classified staff or certified staff. So in trying to do all that, we want to make the approach professional. We also want to allow for problem solving from an educationally sound, stable reference point, and provides prescriptive steps to streamline and explain the procedures systematically. So what we tried to do is take policy 4235, 4625, and I created an agreement, a policy that impacts both of those, and it separates the issues that we talked about, the adult issues from the student issues, puts them together in one policy, and directs them to administrative regulations 4625 that will explain how classified grievance procedures or concerns should be handled. And then on the back side of that, the forms are all mirrored to image the policy, the administrative regulations, and the forms match up in sequence with those things. So that's what the goals were behind that. That's trying to cut out a lot of the minutia at this point, allow you the opportunity to read through it as a rough draft, take a look at it, and then we can discuss it further in the next committee of the whole meeting.
All right, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding 8.4 and 8.3? Okay. Next up, first reading of policy 9115, officers.
This policy is just reflective of, that adds the language to clarify offices of the Board of Education in relationship to the elected positions, including Dr. Nielsen and myself being the treasurer and the secretary.
Okay. If there's no comments or questions, we'll move on to the action portion. First up, we have the approval of bus contract addendums. Can I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the addendums for 2019-20 and 2020-21 with Mid-States for bus transportation.
I have a motion, can I have a second? Second by Steve. All right, Mr. Alexander, do you have anything you want to go into, or?
Well, just for those that weren't able to hear the discussion at the committee of the whole, as we stated, we feel like we're on the right track with the busing company with Mid-States, and we feel like we've built a solid level, foundational level at the start of this year, expressing our concerns, allowing them to talk to us about theirs. We've worked on making improvements that, again, I know not everybody's going to be happy with, but we feel like we've tried to make the improvements necessary to operate safely, equitably, and efficiently, and continue to work towards improvement. So we just want to continue to be able to foster that foundation that we built and that relationship. And doing so, I think, giving some sort of commitment to Mid-States on our behalf that we're here to work with them in the next 2 years helps us get that done. So, that's all.
Any comments or questions? All right, can I have your votes, please? That is approved 7-0. Next up, we have the approval of a memorandum of understanding for the SENCAP program. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the memorandum of understanding with Southeast Community College for the SENCAP program for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second.
Second, Aaron? Anything you want to?
Again, just quick update for those who may not have been in attendance at the committee of the whole meeting or are listening via TV. In the past years, our Perkins funding has been able to be directed seamlessly to SEC to cover the costs of our SENCAP programs. The rules in that game are changing next year. The NDE will not allow us just to shift that money to SENCAP. So what we have to do is receipt that money for our SENCAP program, which is our dual credit course offerings at the high school. Take a look at how we can cover that cost with our general fund budget. The bottom line is we'll receipt it. We're going to have to use it in our career technical education programs, the Perkins funds, and then that money that we would normally use to just pay the SENCAP, we'll have to find room in our general fund budget to transition that money over. So it's just a change in what we've fundamentally done, but the goal will be the same, which is to provide a program for our students who want to take dual credit courses at the high school, which we feel like is very important. And we would emphasize to any parents listening out there, please continue to research the SENCAP program and look into this method of receiving dual credit courses for your child. It's going to save a lot of money for you, and it's going to give your students a step up into their future if they're looking for, if they're going down that track.
Thank you. Do I have any comments or questions? All right, can I have your motion, or votes, please? That is approved 7-0. Next up, we have the approval of the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement. Can I have a motion, please?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the Interlocal Cooperation Act Agreement with the City of Beatrice.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Aaron. Anything you want to add to that other than what we have in our brief?
Nope, just a thank you to Tobias for his work on the interlocal agreement and also the inventory of the boardroom here to be able to be on record, and it's been on file for 20 years, so it's just an update that came to expiration, so that's the reason for the approval at this point.
Okay, any comments or questions? All right, votes please. That's approved 7-0. Next up is the approval of 2019-20 negotiated agreement with the Beatrice Education Association. So far, this requires two things, board approval as well as BEA membership approval. This is the culmination of negotiation agreements starting November 1st and finishing February 6th, 2019. Members Byers, Martin, and Zimmerman have done their due diligence in representing the board to research and compare area school settlements for 2019-20, which results in a good faith settlement equating to a 3.29% total package increase. At this point, I would entertain a motion to either approve or go into exec session.
Understanding that approval also must come from the side of the Beatrice Education Association as well. I think that they are discussing this on Wednesday, and so,
And the motion does say pending acceptance by BEA membership.
I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the pending acceptance of the,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? All right, votes please. All right, we are going into exec session. We will take 5 minutes to clear, and then we will be, when we come back in, we will come out and get everybody.
you guys are welcome to sit in the office area. It's much warmer than the hallway. Would you like us to stay? You want us? Or
Would you like them, anyone,
invite us in, or you want us to go?
any care? They have lots of good information. Stay.
Since you sat in on negotiations, I would think that you could sit in
Answer
on
questions.
this.
I guess I didn't quite know what to do. I didn't.
And are we off? Hang on, before we miss this.
Good question.
I need a power button up here.
Yes.
Turn the broadcast off. And I stopped recording,
That slide goes nowhere.
but, I mean, I can turn the whole system off. Oh, we've got to go turn off that too.
Shut it down.
Do you want me to just turn the whole system off?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because then when we come back, I
Yeah, I
just
think
need
it would've
to
been
figure
easier
out how to
if
get
we
the
would've-
computer back on.
Obviously, Danielle.
Obviously, Danielle does. Okay, I think I have that system off. Broadcast is off. I now have just the computer on.
Should we turn off the lights?
Okay, everybody's back in their seats. We're gonna start off with Mr. Alexander's going to discuss. Do you want to do that, or you want to get a motion first
Right.
before? Okay.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the 2019-20 negotiated agreement with the Beatrice Education Association pending acceptance by the BEA membership.
Second.
Have a motion by Doris, second by Janet. Now, Mr. Alexander, would you give a recap for us of
Sure.
what's included in that package increase?
In that package increase, just for a quick recap to hit the high points, the increase includes the Blue Cross Blue Shield deductible increase from $900 to $1,050 deductible. So that's at the front. There is an increase in personal leave time for staff from 4-hour segment, or 4 time per year segments, 30, 60, 90, or 120 segments, that being reduced to just 60-minute segments 8 times throughout the course of the year. So that's on leave time. The base increase is a $500 increase. And looking at comparisons across our array of 12 other schools, this keeps us at the midpoint of the array, that 5th or 6th spot in the array, and also keeps us at the 98 to 102% midpoint in regards to what we're required to do for the Court of Industrial Relations. So I think it's a fair, good faith negotiations offer on your part as a Board of Education, and hopefully that will be seen by the staff on Wednesday as they vote to accept. So.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions from any of the board members? All right. Can I have your votes, please? And that is approved 7-0. Next up, we have the administrator's report. Mr. Jarash, you are up with the BMS Makerspace.
I'm going to bring another former Beatrice Public Schools Employee of the Month, Karen Renner. I'm the only person in the entire gallery that has not gotten Employee of the Month. I'm not going to be clear, I don't deserve it, so this is
Is that because you're a Patriots fan?
I am not.
You are not.
No,
Okay.
that's worse, I'm a Bears fan.
Oh, that is
But I
worse.
grew up in Chicago, so it's a law. Karen came to me and, the district kind of had an initiative for makerspaces, but Karen came to me and wanted to develop a makerspace at the middle school, and I'm really blessed that I have people that just take things and run with them. I basically provide spiritual support, funding, time, and the space. And Karen takes it from there. So I'm going to have Karen explain some of the things that we've done with our makerspace. And again, she's done a fantastic job with it. Very effective makerspace. And when we do things, we just don't do things to say, well, now we have that. If we're going to have a makerspace, we're going to have a makerspace. It's going to be something that we utilize. And she's just taken the thing and run with it. She's one of these people that just comes to me and has ideas, and when she implements them, it's for the good of the student. It's utilized by students, and so I have no problem finding the space, finding the money for it. So Karen, why don't you let them know what you do with the makerspace?
Well, Makerspace has been a big push. Been kind of an educational buzzword for the last few years. And 2 years ago, I felt like, oh gosh, we're so far behind. We don't have one of these. And so, right or wrong, I thought we got to do something. And come to find out, everybody's talking about it, and very few are doing it. And we jumped in, and now I'm excited because we're one of the ones in the ESU 5 consortium that everybody is checking in with us to see what do you have, how do you do it, can we come visit, kind of stuff. Freeman just sent 5 teachers over to see what we were doing, see what we had in it, talk about how it ran, and then ask if they could use some of the stuff that we have developed. Thayer also could not come over, couldn't let their people go, and so I made a video for them and let them see, shared some of our supplies, etc. But Makerspace is a huge push, you probably heard that the Beatrice Public Library just got a grant for rural communities. They were one of 8 towns, and they will be getting one at the Beatrice Public Library. So we've reached out to them as well to say, hey, if you want to come see what we have, if you want to piggyback on that, if we can start some services at the middle school that kids could either help you with, or that we could grow from there to get people in the community excited, we sure would be willing to do that. And so we have reached out to them. Makerspace is a push to get kids making, and as some of you know, kids just don't make with their hands like they used to. They come in, we see it in school when we ask for projects. The projects are a lot of times kind of pitiful because kids just don't do things with their hands that don't involve remotes as much or hardly at all. And so Maker is just, a makerspace is getting them to make something. And we make something basic, paper, scissors, glue, that kind of stuff, all the way up to 3D printing, etc. So I did make a video for you to give you an idea of what is in there. And then I also give you an idea of how busy it is. I will tell you that we run Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in that last period, 2:30 to 3:10. We provide 4 passes per study hall, and the kids are chomping at the bit to be one of those 4 kids. We have set up some criteria for kids to be in there. Our biggest group of kids that we miss are the band kids, because you have to hit their day that they're not in band, which is 3 days a week, and then they have to be one of the 4 kids. So in talking to some of the band kids, they said, you know, I'd love to get in there, but I can't. And so next week we will start on Mondays with any band kid that doesn't get to the makerspace during the week, then they can come in after school, and we'll be in there till 3:45 to give them a chance. So that's our biggest area of concern of kids we're not reaching right now. The biggest complaint I would have is that we don't have enough time with them. We are starting to see some pretty neat projects being made. The 3D printers are starting to be busy almost all the time now. And so we've got a pretty exciting project going through the Makerspace and Ron Kastmeyer's Genius Hour that I'm excited. And hopefully we'll get the newspaper involved and get that going as it develops a little bit more. But it's pretty exciting, and it's pretty neat what this student has looked into, and if we can see it come to fruition. And I think you'd be impressed. It'll just be some neat stuff. I'm working with one of the manufacturers here in town. He has come to me and said, do you want to come see our VR, which we also have? And I said, yes, but when we come to visit, I need you to have a task for us to go back with. And he asked what that would be, and I said, something we can 3D print. The kids tell me what you need, let the kids design it, and then I want them to make it for you so that they have a real life thing and they're not pulling toys off the internet to print and they're cute. I want something functional. I want kids to realize that they've got to design, try it. If it doesn't work, fix it. So pretty excited about where it's gone in the last few weeks. You kind of get a little bummed as kids hit a wall, and there's been a lot of excitement just since Christmas. So here's a video for you and give you an idea, and then I'd like to tell you that you're welcome at any point to come in. And I know my mom even said the other day, when can somebody like me come in? I said, well, you can come in anytime, and that would be welcome to anybody that wants to come in and see a 3D print, wants to see the kids in action. You're welcome. Just check in at the office and get people involved. telling you that you might see that that area where all those 3D printers were at was not previously part of the media center. And last year, Dr. Nelson and Mr. Jarash said I could have that space. And so we took out a wall that had a little opening and made that part of my area. And we can have the 3D printers out where kids can see them now. Previously, they were in my back room. Kids would design something and I would put it on a flash drive and I'd take it to the back room, but it wasn't conducive to kids seeing what they were creating. And they are now set up with the computers, hooked up right to them so they can design something and do a USB cord, press print, and boom, they're seeing it. And so kids are really getting excited. And so that has been a nice addition for us, and it is constantly busy. We are seeing teachers start to make that an offering for some of their projects. Go talk to Mrs. Dittbrenner, see what you can make in the makerspace. We've had a couple whole class situations or experiences with making some biscuit cutters, et cetera, that kids develop. So we're really starting to catch on in the general classroom too, so that's been kind of exciting. So thanks to Dr. Nielsen and Mr. Drosh for the additional space, and as you can see, it gets utilized a lot, so.
You know, one of the neat things is, you know, when I grew up, there was no such thing as the fun things that they do. And, you know, when we wanted to do something, we went to the store and we bought a model and we could set that model down and we got it out of the box and we followed the directions. So we got used to some technical reading as to how to put something together. And what I like about it is she doesn't walk around and tell them what to do. You saw some of the manuals there that they open them up and they follow them, and they follow those directions and get whatever it is to work, if they can. And we don't tell them, we don't give them the solution right away. We let them work it out from the instructions, which is something they don't get all the time anymore. That technical reading, how to get your VCR to work. Remember those days? So kind of neat stuff. Karen's done a great job. Any questions?
What's the length of the class time that they have to work each time?
It's too short. It's the 42-minute period or 47-minute, 43 minutes that each class period is. And so when they come in, if they sit and wait for me to give them directions, they don't get anything done because there's anywhere from 20 to 32 kids in there. So they just have that last period if they're coming in their study hall.
How much time will the band students have on that Monday after school?
Well, technically, if they ride the bus, they'll have till about 3:50. I'm not coaching right now, so they would get, you know, I mean, if we've got something awesome going, I'm not just gonna look at them and say, hey, we gotta go. But if we have a mom waiting in a car for them or whatever, you know, we might have to continue it the next morning, you know, if they are in a class where they could come during their mentor. But a lot of those band kids are also in delegation, and mentor is taken up for that too. So we work around that. I mean, I've had a couple kids have projects that weren't quite ready to go to the printer, but they were afraid that they weren't gonna get to come back to Makerspace for a while, and I just said, check with your mentor teacher and come up tomorrow and we can get them going.
How long does it take for that 3D printer to do something?
Well, it depends on the project. The Genius Hour project that the one boy just had print was 12 hours and 27 minutes. And so obviously he didn't stay for that. We actually let it run on Friday and then I came back up Saturday morning to check it. So it depends. It can go, a piece broke taking it off the platform. So today he needed to find that piece in the whole design and extract it and reprint it, and that piece took 5 minutes to print. So just depends. The neat thing is we have done enough with it now that we're getting a little bit more comfortable, and so we actually purchased some flexible filament, and so now the kids are starting to be able to design some things like a bracelet or something that is bendable, moldable, because prior to this, everything was just the PLA or ABS plastics, which is hard, comes out hard, and you got what is sitting there, and now they have the ability to make something that's flexible. It was a bracelet that could fit over someone's hand, stretched enough. And then we just had a student print one with fixed hinges, that actually worked, the legs rotated back and forth. So the kids are starting to come up with some things and be able to do that.
Are they able to leave stuff out? I mean, it obviously takes a little longer for a lot of these projects to do. They can just take their project and leave it.
It
And
just
some
breaks.
string things and
Yeah,
some
if,
cutting.
yeah, okay, so if they come in and they're working on something and they don't get it done, the bottom shelf all the way around in the library is open, and so we just slide it under there, and we have yet to have anybody mess with it, because they know theirs might be sitting there, and so they just leave it alone.
We're also working on, we have a CNC mill that we're figuring out, working the bugs out of it for kids to utilize. Haven't really got that implemented yet, but we're working on it.
No, the
And
learning
then,
curve is pretty big.
The neat thing about it is, some teachers that you wouldn't expect to get involved in the makerspace get involved. We had Mrs. Smouse in a teach how to make, teaching FCS how to make biscuits. So she had her students design biscuit cutters, and they ran those on a CNC machine, so different shapes to cut
The 3D
biscuits. So,
printer, yeah.
what did I say? Yeah, 3D printer. And so they cut their own shape of biscuits out of, but they designed it, their own biscuit cutter, so teachers getting involved, so just neat stuff.
So if any of you have something that breaks at home, I believe there is a crock pot knob at the
Yes.
trustee household that she brought it in and it didn't have a knob, and so I was like, hey, I saw one of those, and we printed it and it actually works, and she giggled. We couldn't find the leg for it or something, there was a leg missing, and it was a cherished crock pot, which I can understand, and so it was kind of a good laugh for us, but we are looking for real world things, you know, a gear or a switch or anything like that, that you can bring to us and say, I need this design, with the understanding that we're dealing with middle school students
We'll put a
coming
kid
in.
on it.
And we have to give them some time for the trial and error and, you know, so we could use that, we welcome that.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much.
I just have a couple things to mention on that. Just, first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking kids and their ideas and helping them evolve. And as I say that, I had the privilege of sitting in our business class, Shark Tank, at the end of the semester, their final, where they had to design something to promote and try and sell on Shark Tank that I think could be directly correlated towards this type of creativity and creation that we're talking about. It was amazing what our seniors did, but without the ability, and now with Makerspace and the things that we allow them to do in middle school, I think we're just gonna see that continue to build upwards. So, what a terrific foundation. You were right in what you said about students and their creativity. Used to be with hands and a pair of scissors and glue, we would ask them to build an art project, and not that we still don't, but, or a pencil and draw. And now kids do that via computer, and that's going to continue to be what we see happen in society. Dr. Nielsen and I have sat in on various conferences in the last several weeks about career technical education, and we've learned that 60 to 80% of the jobs that are going to exist in the future, we don't even know what they are right now. And so it's important that we have this opportunity to give to kids. The last couple things I would say is this is an example of, we still teach the 3 R's, but we also have thrown in the T of technology and C of creativity. And so this is an example of it taking a village to raise a child and educate them in an ever-changing society that's evolving so quickly. So thanks, Coach Dittbrenner, and for what you do, and we love it. And Mr. Jarash, the only thing I would say that you forgot in your job description was comic relief.
Now,
So we know we
you
can
have to have
count
a
on you
sense
for
of humor
that.
to work at the middle school, especially with me. So.
That's right. So thank you also for your work there as well.
All right, does anybody else have any more comments, questions? All right, now we'll move on to the notification of next meeting. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be March 11th.
He needs to do this.
superintendent evaluation.
Yeah, that's next.
Oh, sorry.
They just have the notification
Oh, my
of that.
report.
So
Yeah.
usually, they do this so that when people leave, they don't have to come back, they know.
My report, administrator.
Yes, it's still coming up.
Thank you.
You know, if you don't have one, we offer these.
I will make it brief.
Would you like to do that before I get a notification?
Sure.
Okay.
Just a reminder that accreditation engagement reminders, we have our external visit coming up. And just know that you are invited to attend the supper that evening on February 19th. This is where we have an external team come in and review our district, make suggestions on improvement, and then hopefully grant us accreditation status through the Department of Education. On February 19th at 6, you're invited to attend that as a Board of Education meeting or member. On the 20th, the next morning at 8:45 p.m., we're looking for 3 volunteers for interviews. And I think a lot of this has been communicated already, but the 21st at 4:30 p.m. is the exit interview, in which the external team will give their report. So you know, I plan to attend the hearing on LB 314 on Thursday in representation of the Stance organization, and as many hearings as possible regarding school finance in the coming weeks, which the next several weeks will be heavily laden in the legislature in the education committee in terms of hearings. So through the Stance committee, we've kind of assigned different superintendents to be able to attend in accordance with their schedules. I will tell you that today's hearing on LB 147, which was the student discipline bill by Senator Groening, it was very interesting to listen to the proponents and the opponents of that bill. As sitting multitasking, listening to the testimony and working on preparation for tonight's board meeting, at which time I will update you a little further as we know how that's going to evolve. But that and LB 515, Senator Vargas's proposal to student discipline were heard in the hearings today. So as this week progresses, there will be a lot of discussion about education in the next 2 weeks, whether it be school finance, student discipline, or others. And hopefully we will be looking back on it and thinking, we're glad we did those things. That's our goal.
Okay, now I will give the notification of the next meeting. The next regular board meeting of the Board of Education will be March 11th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be February 28th, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. At this time, we have it set up for executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation for the protection of public interest and/or prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual, and if such an individual has not requested a public meeting. If it is felt necessary, I would take a motion to go into executive session.
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 move into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation for the protection of public interest and/or the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of an individual, and if such individual has not requested a public meeting.
Okay, I have a motion by Doris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. All right, we are going into executive session. If you'd like to wait outside again, we will come out and get you.
It's not gonna take that long, because I can't feel anything from my knees down. Yeah, okay, yeah, did I go start my car?
Did anybody want to speak with Jason before he leaves? Any questions for him?
During our video.
Do you want to stay after?
Yeah, you wanted to
Why?
come back in later when we ask for approval?
Really?
This.
Okay, you're gonna.
All right. Thank you all.
The roads are
Have a good evening.
awful.
Thank you.